All right. I know we are missing a couple of commissioners. In fact, our chairman is out today, so I get to be the substitute chairman for the beginning of today's meeting. He'll be joining us shortly. I think we will start today's agenda. I guess we have enough to start. Yeah. Here's Commissioner Proctor. Yeah, we'll start with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask Commissioner John Daly to do our introduction for us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As many of you know, that this is a tradition that we have, that we rotate amongst the commissioners, and everyone gets to select someone to come in and do the invocation. This is my last opportunity before retiring off the county commission, so this is very special to me. And I have asked a dear friend, Dr. Reverend Joseph Wright from Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church, to come give the invocation today. So will you please stand and join me in the invocation? Reverend Wright.
Thank you, Commissioners, for this privilege and this opportunity to be here today. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for the privilege and the wonderful opportunity to ask your blessings on this august body and staff as they continue their deliberations as in the best interest of this community. Grant these commissioners wisdom, and I pray that give them a greater understanding to what is pleasing to thee and to the county by which they are serving. These favors we ask in the mighty name of our Christ, and the people of God said amen.
Amen. Please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Wright.
Lacking a chairman, I'm going to weigh in that Commissioner Jackson is making his way to present the proclamation honoring the life and achievements of Chris Knabb.
Thank you.
Do some of the family and friends want to come join you?
I believe Chris Knabb's daughter is
Daughter.
here to accept on.
Aaron?
Hi.
Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be able to share this proclamation today with Chris Knabb's family in her memory, as well as we do have one that doesn't have a coffee stain in the back, and we will be happy to get you one that is fully respectable for framing. Whereas Chris Knabb spent her career working in service at a nonprofit and her life being a social change advocate that has left Tallahassee and Leon County a better community for her heart, grit, energy, and influence. And whereas Chris spent nearly 40 years working to make Legal Services of North Florida the best organization with the best team possible, with the goal of helping people have a voice through civil legal assistance. And whereas Chris fearlessly led a team of staff and pro bono lawyers in 5 offices covering 16 counties and helped people recover Social Security benefits, helped domestic violence victims, represented children in foster care, provided services to homeless veterans, obtained financial relief for public housing residents, and even more. And whereas Chris helped Legal Services of North Florida grow from one small office serving Leon County into an organization that currently provides legal representation and counsel to an average of 7,000 families annually, and is one of the most respected legal services agencies in the country. And whereas Chris gave freely of her personal time to advocate specifically on issues impacting local women and girls by serving as a commissioner of the Tallahassee-Leon County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and as an advisory board member of the Oasis Center for Women and Girls. And whereas Chris chose a life of service to her community, and in particular those residents who were underrepresented within it through nonprofits and community service, and did so with extraordinary success, not only as an executive, but as an advocate. Now therefore be it resolved that the Leon County Board of County Commissioners expresses its deepest appreciation for the outstanding contributions made by Chris Knabb during her nearly 40 years of public service in support of the Tallahassee-Leon County community. This proclamation is signed by all of the fellow commissioners as well as our county administrator, and I am honored to present it to you today.
Commissioners, thank you so much for this wonderful honor. I am humbled to accept this award on my mother's behalf. My mom was an amazing woman. She was also a hardworking advocate for disadvantaged people, and her legacy is a true inspiration for how to fight injustice. She worked tirelessly for not only women and girls, but for all who were and continue to be disadvantaged. She was proud of the work she did on the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and I know she would be grateful for their desire to stand with the county at acknowledging her work on behalf of women and girls. My mom was admired and loved by many. I know I asked this of you all at the City Commission meeting, but I would like to ask you one more time. Can the people who are here today for her please stand? Thank you again to all of you and to the county. She was lucky to have such amazing friends and family who supported her and her hard work. I look forward to continuing her legacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. We're really glad to have everybody here. I know it's another very sentimental day for you. And we miss your mama's big smile and great work for so many years. Thank you for being here. And Commissioner Jordan, I can still call you that. It's good to see you here today, too.
You did a great job. Next up, Commissioner Dozier, if you would. You have a proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. There are big and small ways that we all impact the lives of others. And thinking about Chris, there are going to be countless people in the future who benefit from her hard works and don't even know who they owe credit to. And really appreciate that and appreciate all of you being here today. I am joined by Kelsey Sharp for our annual proclamation for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And this is another way that people just get up, put their shoes on, if they're going to go for a walk, do advocacy, and impact the lives of many, many thousands of people in the past and in the future. So with that, I will read the proclamation. Whereas Making Strides Against Breast Cancer is the American Cancer Society's premier event to raise awareness and funds to fight breast cancer. And whereas since 1993, more than 8 million walkers across the country have raised more than $480 million through Making Strides events to help fight breast cancer. And whereas Making Strides Against Breast Cancer is a non-competitive walk that encourages individuals or teams of all ages to walk to honor breast cancer survivors, remember those who have lost the battle, educate women in breast cancer prevention and early detection, and to raise funds and awareness to help find a cure. And whereas the money raised through Making Strides Against Breast Cancer helps the American Cancer Society fight breast cancer with research grants, offers a 24-hour cancer hotline, provides free program and service for cancer patients and their families, and advocates for public policies to provide access to quality health care and screenings. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, that the month of October 2018 is recognized as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Leon County as well as the United States. Furthermore, the board encourages the citizens of Leon County to participate in Making Strides of Leon Walk on Sunday, October 21st, 2018, to raise awareness for breast cancer and express sincere appreciation to all participants and supporters for making a difference to fight against breast cancer. Dated this day, 24th of September, 2018. Mr. Vice Chair, if you'll indulge me for a second, I feel my voice shaking. I'm sure you all can hear that. And I'm really surprised at this moment because I am not sure why I didn't anticipate this, but hearing a daughter celebrate her mother, and my mother is here in the chamber, and we just lost my grandmother. And the last time she was in the chamber was when she was holding the Bible and helping me get sworn in 4 years ago. She had breast cancer twice. This is something that is personal, and I'm feeling that right now. So I'm glad to do it today and honor all of our mothers and fathers who helped us get here. So, Kelsey, please. Thank you.
I want to start off by thanking Commissioner Dozier for recognizing the importance of breast cancer awareness in our community and initiating the proclamation. Breast cancer is the most common cancer type in women behind skin cancer. This year, about 253,000 women will be diagnosed with an invasive form of breast cancer in our country. The average risk of a woman in the United States of developing breast cancer is 1 in 8. Additionally, breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer death following lung cancer. Sorry. Since the early 90s, there has been a 39% decrease in breast cancer deaths in our country, and that is a result of the awareness and education brought forward through our community. Therefore, the proclamation is so important because it increases awareness, education, and research for treatment, and we can continue to decrease those rates. I also want to invite you all to the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk on October 21st at Cascade Park. And through the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, that's how we raise the money for the research programs and services. So I thank you again.
Thank you. We're going to look at Justin right here.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dozier. Commissioner Lindley, you're up next.
And I have Tom Jones and Melinda Coulter are joining me today in recognition of Guardianship Awareness Month. I think a lot of us are very aware of Guardian ad litem for children, but maybe not so many people are aware of the work of the guardianship for adults and people with various disabilities. So we're happy to read this proclamation to you all today. Whereas Florida is home to millions of seniors and residents with disabilities, where a guardian is a surrogate decision maker appointed by the courts to make either personal and/or financial decisions for a minor or for an adult with mental or physical disabilities. Whereas guardians provide critical daily work and an important voice for our most vulnerable populations, and while protecting the dignity and the rights of the person who is incapacitated. Whereas the Florida State Guardianship Association, an affiliate of the National Guardianship Association, was established in 1983 with the purpose of improving guardianship services, and whereas the Florida State Guardianship Association works to ensure that the public will understand the role of the guardian and make sure the best possible services are provided with the highest guardianship standards, now therefore the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, proclaims October 2018 Guardianship Awareness Month, and we salute the association and recognize all the guardians for their dedication and outstanding support of the elderly and the disabled. Dated today, the 24th of September, signed by my colleagues on the County Commission and our County Administrator Vince Long. And I just noticed today that there's probably some likely legislative issues for you all coming up, so we will be following that with great attention and interest as well. So I wanted to send this to you, and thank you for being here. Would you like to make a comment?
Just very briefly, yeah. Thank you.
The whole thing
Appreciate that.
It has no coffee on it, unlike Commissioner Chase.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindley, and thank you, Commissioners. I just wanted to say thank you on behalf, well, first of all, I'm Tom Jones. I'm the president of the local board, the Big Bend Guardianship Association, and I'm also board secretary of the Florida State Guardianship Association, under which that's our parent organization. And I just wanted to, again, thank you on behalf of all the guardians in our community and those that support them. There are professional guardians, of which there are those that serve the indigent as well as those with assets, and there are also family guardians in our community. And then those that support them are attorneys and their staffs and other social workers and care individuals. So it's quite a community we have here in Leon County that supports that effort. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you are a guardian, a court-appointed. When you are a court-appointed guardian, that's what you're in for. And these are people that do it from the heart. They do it because that's what they feel led to do. And so, again, this proclamation just, again, makes us all extra aware of the fact that they're out there doing this for us and for our community. So thank you again, Commission. Appreciate it very much.
Next up, we'll be recognizing some of the little guys in the green shirts in the crowd. Normally, if they show up with matching shirts, it's always something to be concerned about. But in this instance, we're excited to have our World Series champs here, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Daly to talk about their accomplishments, and we're so happy to have them here today.
I would like to ask the Babe Ruth national champs to please come join me with the coaches. Mr. Brown, if you will come join me at the podium, that'd be wonderful. Coach Park, will you come join me too? So, y'all are going to have to bear with me. I only have 3 commission meetings left. This is kind of wrapping up some of the things that I wanted to do, and I've been very reflective. And Brian, if you recall when we got elected, and Bill, you were with us as well, 12 years ago at our first meeting, the second or the third vote that we took was the partnership with the Florida Forever program to acquire the Fred George land to turn it into a park. And over the course of time, between saving our money, a recession, and just doing the right thing, we finally were able to build an incredible baseball field and park. And here we are 12 years later. That was at the beginning of our career. And here we are 12 years later. We are celebrating the Babe Ruth 15 and under World Series championship leaders. These gentlemen went out, played their hearts out, beat everybody in the country, and brought it home. It's a great story talking about how we strive to provide great parks and services and youth programming, and I'm so proud of you gentlemen. I asked them if they recognized me because I went out to the send-out at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and this is what I look like in the light, and it's great to see y'all. But on a side note too, before I actually get into the presentation and the proclamation, I want you gentlemen to know that I've asked a very special person in my life to come join with this presentation. So Mr. Tony Park is not only the director of Public Works, and Parks and Recreation falls underneath his responsibility. So not only was Mr. Park the one who created that incredible ball field that you play on and we're very proud of out at Fred George, but I want you to remember this moment because some of your best childhood memories are going to be with each other, playing baseball, and with your coaches. And I'm here to tell you that I grew up in Tallahassee, and Coach Park was my all-star coach when I was in middle school. And now I've had the opportunity for 12 years to work with him at the county. And he was a fantastic coach, taught me a lot of great life lessons. So I'm asking Coach Park to join me while we present you with this proclamation. So ladies and gentlemen, a proclamation. Whereas the Tallahassee Leon Babe Ruth 15 and under All-Star Team won the 2018 Babe Ruth World Series title in Longview, Washington in a thrilling comeback 7-4 victory over the previously undefeated Mifflin County, Pennsylvania team. And whereas in this 62nd year of the Tallahassee Leon Babe Ruth baseball, the 15 under team winning the 2018 World Series marked the 6th time a TLBR team has won the ultimate title in Babe Ruth baseball. And whereas in the last 4 seasons alone, 5 Tallahassee Leon Babe Ruth teams have appeared in a World Series, lending further credibility to the Tallahassee Leon County being nationally recognized as one of the best youth baseball communities in America. And whereas the 13 to 15 U team played at the Fred George Greenway and Park on the 60-90 baseball field that opened in February 2016. And Leon County hosted the Babe Ruth State North Championship this past summer, July 12th through the 15th, where 13 teams from across the state played at the Fred George baseball field, and Leon County has been a strong supporter of TLBR. And whereas reflecting the outstanding quality of youth baseball in Tallahassee, the 12-man roster of the 2018 TLBR 15 and under team was comprised of players from 5 different local high schools, including Childs, Florida State University Schools, Leon, Lincoln, and Rickards High. And whereas Tallahassee Leon player, Mr. Will Brown, raise your hand, Will. Mr. Will Brown was named the 2018 World Series Tournament's most outstanding player. And whereas the coaches, players, and parents exemplify what makes Tallahassee such a wonderful community, exhibiting teamwork, respect, support, and courage to achieve the ultimate goal of a world championship. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, that we recognize the Tallahassee Leon Babe Ruth 15 and under All-Star team for their accomplishment of being the 2018 Babe Ruth World Series champions and for being exemplary ambassadors of our community. Dated this 24th day of September, signed by the chairman, the vice chairman, all of the county commissioners, attested to by the county administrator, Mr. Vince Long. Will, I'm going to present this to you on behalf of the team. Congratulations, gentlemen. We are extremely proud. Billy, you going to speak? I'm going to ask, first of all, is there a player that wants to step up? Mr. Brown, do you want to say a few words? Are you okay? You just going to give a wave? Okay. Mr. Bill Behan is going to speak on behalf of the team. Bill.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's nice to be back in one of the halls of government after a long career about a block west of here, including working with you all many, many times. But I got to tell you, there's nothing more gratifying than being part of this community, and specifically for me, youth sports. Tallahassee, Leon County is many things. It's Chris Knabb and her family. It's breast cancer awareness. My mother-in-law is a two-time survivor. It's the people with Guardian Adeline, but it's also an outstanding youth sports community. So my thanks first off to Chairman Maddox and Vice Chair Jackson, and of course, especially Commissioner Daly, for recognition of the Tallahassee Leon Babe Ruth 15U baseball team. It's nice when teams from FSU or FAMU or TCC win championships. I know you acknowledge them, but they have players from all over the country, certainly the state of Florida. These boys are local. They're here. They're Tallahassee. They're Leon County. They represent the best of our community, and they are our community. They come from different backgrounds, different schools, 5 different high schools represented on this team, different areas of the community, but collectively they work together throughout the entire summer. They gave up their summer for baseball and had to travel about as far away as you can from here to win the World Series in Longview, Washington, which I think is halfway between Seattle and Portland, and won the ultimate prize. While they deserve credit for their on-field work, they're the ones who actually went out there and played and won it. I'd like to also issue a collective thank you, and a huge one at that, to the team, coaches, and parents who deserve an awful lot of credit for supporting their kids throughout this long summer. And the Tallahassee Leon Babe Ruth Board of Directors, led by my far better half, Leisha Behena. Finally, and of special interest to all of you with Leon County, we'd really like to thank, and I know Commissioner Daly mentioned this, Lee Davis and the folks at Parks and Rec, Tony Park. You guys have made the Fred George Greenway sort of a de facto home field for our league, and we're incredibly grateful for that. In fact, back in July, Tallahassee hosted the 13, 14, and 15, 3 separate tournaments, state tournaments here, and we used Fred George extensively, including for the 13U championship game on a Sunday morning, 9 o'clock start, when the field at Leon, where the tournament had been held, was under about 15 feet of water. So great job to Lee Davis and her crew. We really appreciate our relationship with the county and hope it continues as Babe Ruth enters its 63rd season of high-quality baseball. Tallahassee is known throughout the country for many things. It's certainly well known throughout the country for its youth baseball. Once again, thanks to the board on behalf of your Tallahassee Leon World Champion 15U team.
Excellent. Thank you.
We also have a baseball signed by the kids. We have a plaque, we have a photo, and those are all I would throw this baseball to Commissioner Jordan, who I know at one point claimed he was pretty good at baseball, but I doubt you could handle a fastball from one of these kids anymore, Gary.
That's right.
So. But this is to the board.
Excellent. And the board will not see it. This will stay in my office. So, guys, if y'all don't mind, real quick, can we get a picture? Photographer's right here. Justin's going to take it. Alicia, come on up, get front and center. Nope, come on up. Come on up, front and center. All right, guys, you're going to kind of crowd around here. Bill, you in? Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Certainly do appreciate it. Thank you. Justin will get you a copy.
Great job, you guys. For those of you that are interested, Commissioner Daly will be having a pitching clinic afterwards, after the meeting today. We're excited to have you out today.
Okay, and Commissioner Jackson is going to present the Glenn J. Winnick Humanitarian Award at this time. We'll have guests join.
Thank you. For 6 years now, we have been presenting this award, and I'm excited today to be able to introduce it. And although I won't be presenting it, I will turn it over to Kevin Cox to do this honorable presentation. We're excited to have him here, and I hope he gives us a good explanation about exactly the origination of the award and today's recipient. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson and the rest of the commissioners. This is a very exciting honor for us. I'm an attorney at Holland & Knight. Again, my name's Kevin Cox, and we've been doing this award in connection with the county for several years now. The award's called the Glenn J. Winnick Humanitarian Service Award. Mr. Winnick was a partner at Holland & Knight. He was in our New York office, and he was in our New York office on September 11th, 2001. Our office was close to the World Trade Center. And he went to the office and he helped evacuate everybody from our office. And it turns out he was actually a volunteer firefighter and EMT, and that was just what his natural instinct called him to do. And then, as he told all of his colleagues to head for safety, instead of doing that for himself, he headed it immediately into the South Tower. And that's where he lost his life that morning. We started this award a little after the 10th year anniversary of 9/11. Our Holland & Knight's a nationwide firm, and our offices around the country do many things to honor both the remembrance and the service that has grown out of 9/11. Obviously, 9/11 was a tragic event, but it also called everybody to service, the kind of service that Glenn Winnick showed that morning, and it showed us what we could do, that we're at our best when we come together in a moment like that. Each year, in connection with the county, in partnership with the county, we have taken nominations from across our community to find a local hero. It could be someone who's done something as a one-time moment like Glenn Winnick, or more often it's someone who's spent a lifetime of service for others. We had some incredible nominees this year. We announced our winner on September 11th in a day of service and remembrance. At that day of service and remembrance, we also in addition to remembrance, we packed in service 220 military care packages, which the county also helped us get to some servicemen who I'm sure, and women who I'm sure appreciated it. We had three incredible finalists this year. One was our trial courts administrator, Colonel Grant Sladen, for all of his work serving and deploying and bringing aid to those who had suffered in Hurricane Irma. Another was Ron Berger, who has spent a lifetime of service in disaster relief and public health matters. But we had an incredible winner this year. She's standing next to me, and I've seen folks coming around her just in this as we were getting ready for this meeting. She's already a celebrity. It's Miss Dorothy Dot Binger. And let me tell you a little bit about Ms. Binger and why she won this award this year. Ms. Binger is a volunteer with the Guardian Ad Litem program. After a career in education, she has spent the last 29 years volunteering to serve those children who are in the most dire straits. And we've already heard about guardianship and the importance of that these children need. So children who are abused or neglected, and they need a champion. They need a voice. And there's one person that our Guardian Ad Litem program goes to when they have the toughest need, the most complicated need. They have to have a go-to person, because Ms. Binger is so committed to when she gets a child, and she's served over 80 children in the Guardian Ad Litem program. And if they have any need, medical or clothes or food, or if they move away, she still goes and tracks them down and makes sure that they are taken care of. All of these things just made her stand out within Guardian Ad Litem. And Deborah Moore, who's the director of the Guardian Ad Litem program, is here and actually nominated Dot because she just has done such extraordinary service. Dot's daughter and son-in-law are here as part of this recognition as well. And so Dot has just done everything above and beyond and beyond and beyond. And I said when I was announcing this award originally, it wasn't polite to comment on someone's age, but then Dot gave me permission to let the audience know Dot is 94 years old, and she is still going strong, stronger than about all of us. And so I would like to again present this award to Dorothy Dot Binger as the winner of the Glenn J. Winnick Humanitarian Service Award. And we were also giving $1,000 to the Guardian Ad Litem program in her honor through this award.
Kevin, thank you.
I would like to accept the award on behalf of all the volunteers and staff of the Guardian Ad Litem program, particularly those of Circuit 2. And if I could have one wish, I would wish there were no longer any children who needed our advocacy. Thank you.
Oh, wow, I ended up with the portrait. All right, I think that's it for our proclamations and special awards. At this time, Mr. Administrator, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Administrator, are there any items to be pulled on the consent agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, we have one consent item pulled, item 10.
We have a motion for remaining 9 and second. Discussion?
All those in favor?
Oh, all those in favor say aye. All opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 10 is a status report on the Development Support Environmental Management 2017 upgrade. This was requested recently of the board that it come back to you in the form of a status report. It's here. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I will note that we have one speaker card. This item was pulled by Commissioner Dozier.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
I pulled this item, having worked pretty closely with Tallahassee Builders Association, and I know we have a couple of members in attendance. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciated the staff's update, and more than that, I have seen the efforts to improve our systems process, to address different types of concerns in a really constructive way day to day for the last year and a half. By attending the governance committees at Tallahassee Builders Association and other meetings. And I just wanted to say publicly that our staff is attending those meetings. I can see them working issues with builders and other professionals in our community at the table. We've had a lot of great results. I know we have a long, or maybe not a long way, maybe we're always in improvement. There's more to do, and I appreciated the item. I really like the express permit and others, but I really wanted to pull this to give the opportunity to a few folks to make comments today as we're in progress, but I did want to acknowledge that we have made great progress, and I really appreciate staff's efforts. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one speaker on this item, Doug Barton.
You have 3 minutes to state your name and address for the record.
Doug Barton. I am 9324 Carl Lane Way. I am owner of Barton Construction. I'm also the president of the Tallahassee Builders Association. We are 270 members strong. Last update I looked on the report, we did a little over $30 million worth of residential construction in the county this fiscal year. I'm here also to commend the department, Barry Wilcox and David McDivitt. Commissioner Dozier, Deloge has been on some of the meetings we've had over the last 18 months. They have made tremendous progress. There's no doubt our experience is much better than it has been. One caveat that we have, most important to builders in this area, is permit time turnaround. 3 minutes, I got 2 minutes left. I'll give you a brief scenario. If a builder, let's say he builds 4 houses a year, $250,000 houses, got $1 million worth of sales. If he has a permit time that's 14 weeks, and that permit time is cut to 7 weeks, his revenue just went up by $112,000. So it's significant. I just said we did $30 million so far of residential construction this year. 10% of that is drastic, and it goes to the bottom line. No more people working for you. It's just getting to the work sooner and faster. So it's very important to us. I pulled what I found online. The department publishes monthly reports, and if you look at it from January 1 to the date, you'll notice how long it takes to pull a residential single family. I'm talking about new residential single family permit. And as I talked with Barry this morning, this information is not overly accurate for what we're discussing. There's a lot of caveats going, so it's not accurate data, but if you get down to the brass tacks, it illustrates 30 days to a permit. Look into the report, and the report refers back to 10 to 11 days to get a new single-family permit. That's not overly accurate either. Nobody really knows how long it takes to get a new single-family permit in the county. And that's what I'd like to address. I'd like to ask the commission, in lieu of passing this, let's go back and look and at least have somebody or independent counsel, somebody look at this and say, how long is it taking us actually to approve this permit process?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Doug. I see Rob as well, the chair of our governance committee. I know that, Doug, you've had conversations, Mr. County Administrator. I don't know if you wanted to comment on any improvements. My understanding is there might be improvements in the system of how we're tracking permits that might give us
Sure, we could probably,
numbers.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, we could probably clarify that situation right now, if you'd like.
Hey, go ahead.
So why don't we have David or Barry come on up and address that issue, because we do track things pretty closely. I believe that our data is pretty reliable on exactly the time that it takes to issue a single-family permit.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Yes, the data that Doug was referring to online is gross time for a permit. So it literally takes into account not just the time that we've had it on our desk, but also the time that it may be sitting on the applicant's desk during a resubmittal or things like that. We're currently working with MIS, and I may be the only department with an MIS war room in-house at the moment, to ensure that we have accurate reporting on exactly that item, meaning exactly how much time is it on our desks and in our house, because that's our goal, is to get that down to, I believe, 8 days total but within the next few years, and sooner, hopefully, rather than later. So we're working through that right now. I hope at the next TBA meeting I'll be able to bring to them a report that honestly shows the net time that the county has had an application, and that will enable us to continue to track that for improvement purposes moving forward. Also allows us to delve into those applications specifically and figure out if we are being held up in one particular area, why are we being held up in that area, and what can we fix to improve that.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Thank you, Barry.
Correct.
Just one last comment, Mr. Vice Chair. I thought that Barry had made comment about this at a recent meeting at TBA, that he was working with MISF, so thank you for that update. I think anecdotally, probably others of you, continue to hear about the time it takes to move through the permitting system. Sometimes that's county, sometimes that's city, sometimes there are extenuating circumstances. And I, Mr. County Administrator, would be very interested in hearing another update in a few months and having some feedback, and perhaps looking at it from the angle of our economic development work as well. We just talked about site selection inventory at our OED meeting last week for economic development. These things, from what I've learned from others who are trying to locate sites for businesses coming in, I think they're tied together. And there may be a way that we could use the good work that DSEM is doing right now and move that ball forward. And without saying or predicting anything, there may be a renewed conversation with the city after a few months about increased partnerships and other things like that. And I would love to have that conversation be renewed after November. So with that, I'll make a motion for option 1. Thank you.
Commissioner Daly, you're next in queue.
Second the motion, but Barry, you also brought up a great point, and I'll be honest with you, now with this little bit of discussion, I'm a little confused on exactly what the actual numbers are too, and what is the average time. And so I'm looking forward to this data coming back once we go back and clarify it. But I'm also interested in knowing, what is the resubmittal rate? You just mentioned that. How many plans are being submitted, and then for whatever reason they get it wrong, so we send it back and say, nope, you gotta go back and do XYZ, and then they resubmit. I mean, you were referring to the time it was sitting on our desk versus the time that it's sitting on their desk. And what I hear all the time is, just give us a straight answer. Just tell us what we need to do up front. Let us know exactly what needs to be done. We'll do it. The frustration mounts when the story is, we tell you to do ABC, they go out and do ABC, come back. Now we tell them to do XYZ, they do XYZ, come back. Say, no, now you got to do 1, 2, 3. And so it's this back and forth and this resubmittal. Not right now, not off the top of your head, but I'm interested in knowing, what are the numbers? What percentage are resubmittals? Meaning that whatever is submitted first and foremost is sent back 100% and said, you got to redo all this before you can submit. Because a lot of these people have been in the industry here for a long time, and they know our code, and they know what we expect. And so I'm trying to figure out, why do we still have such a high resubmittal rate if we do? And why is that clogging up the process, per se? So chew on that, make sure that that's part of the information that you bring back as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks, sir.
Commissioners in queue to speak. So the motion has been made and been seconded. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, we have no speakers on non-agenda items, and that'll bring us to the general business agenda. The first item on the general business agenda, item number 11, seeks your acceptance of the 2018 Leon County Annual Report. Commissioners, as you know, this is an item that I bring to you each year. It's required by Florida statutes, but this is one requirement of the state of Florida that makes me very happy to fulfill and proud to fulfill each year on behalf of all the men and women of Leon County government. So as we've done in the past, Commissioners, we've produced a short video to go along with the annual report. We do that so that we can share our story with as many of the citizens that we serve in this community as possible. We know that's important because nothing that you'll hear today or see in the annual report once I distribute it would be possible, frankly, without the ongoing support and input and feedback that we receive from our community. So very important. So with that, Commissioners, after the video, the short video, I will delve into just a little bit more detail with just a few slides on some of the things that we measure because they matter in tracking our progress. And I think you'll agree when you see this video and the report after just the few slides that I have here, you will agree that this has been again another year that you all can be very proud of and be proud of the Leon County team. And again, the video and the short presentation that I have will but scratch the surface of the 80 or so page report that I'll then distribute to you. So with that, I'll ask Matt Cavell to cue the video.
2018 was another year of great progress for Leon County toward realizing an ambitious vision for our community and setting the standard for performance, fiscal stewardship, and best practices for local governments everywhere. This annual report takes a look back at the progress of the past year. It highlights Leon County's commitment to investing in infrastructure, creating places for people and businesses to thrive, and building a culture of innovation and co-creation, all of which makes Leon County a special place to live, work, and play. And our dedicated employees take special pride in our community. We are your neighbors, friends, and family who clear the roads and culverts and just might coach your child's team. It's that connection to the people we serve that drives us to respond to the day-to-day needs of our community. But we at Leon County also take a long view in our continuous efforts to create a vibrant, resilient, and healthy community for residents and visitors alike. And with that mission, in 2018 we continued to focus our efforts on being a premier destination for adventure, culture, and sports tourism. We grew our tourism economy to another record year, from our national headlining acts at the Capitol Cascades Amphitheater to the starting line at our cross-country championship course at Appalachia Regional Park. Because we committed to learn all we could from back-to-back hurricanes, Leon County was recognized as a leader in disaster resilience in 2018 as the first ever hurricane-strong community in the nation. And as a learning organization, we enhanced community resilience efforts through preparedness events like Build Your Bucket and with cutting-edge technology, which will keep us in a constant state of improved readiness for the future. And with that same dedication to ensuring our community's brightest future, Leon County stayed focused on our bold goals to enhance our quality of life and protect our environment as we began work to eliminate hundreds of septic tanks in Southside Leon County. We also grew our beautiful parks countywide with the opening of St. Mark's Headwaters Greenway and Northeast Trail, and improvements to a community treasure at Fort Braden Park for families to enjoy. And because building community is about building connections, we engaged our residents on the Citizens Charter Review to shape our future, hosted our annual Created Equal event with a frank conversation on race and racial equality, served our veterans, and joined citizens to revitalize a neighborhood with our 9/11 Day of Service. This commitment to service is at the heart of everything we do in Leon County. It drives us to be the best in our fields. In 2018, our dedicated Leon County employees continued to set the highest standards in public service by earning more than 50 awards from the National Association of Counties over the past 6 years, more than any other time in our history. These employee-led efforts have been key to keeping Leon County among the most efficient and affordable counties anywhere. while we will continue to face the same challenges of communities and governments everywhere else. As we look back at the progress of the last year, we see a county that listens to the citizens we serve, solves our problems, and ensures that our community continues to be a place like nowhere else. Please learn more about all of Leon County's efforts this year on behalf of and alongside our community in the 2018 annual report.
Commissioners, after watching that video, I feel like I want to stop right there. And Commissioner Proctor, if it wasn't attached, I would drop this mic right now. But I'm going to keep going and with a couple of slides. But let me pass out the annual report. Commissioner Dozier, I apologize in advance. It's right off the presses. Remember that. But let me just highlight a few slides, as I mentioned from the report. Things that we measure, again, because they matter in evaluating our progress. Commissioners, before I do that, let me say right up front, again, that none of what we achieved in 2018 would be possible without the clear, consistent guidance and leadership that we receive from this board. I say it every year because it is so important to us, but thank you for believing in this organization, and thank you for believing in Leon County employees. I can't tell you how important that is. And speaking of Leon County employees, I can't say enough about the talented and dedicated and committed group of employees that we have who continue to produce big results for this community and for our citizens. And I think that video really managed to capture that this year. And once again, before I dive into just a few of our big priorities, let me just say again, too, that none of this would be possible without our ability to continue to leverage our community partnerships and all of the engagement that we do with our citizens throughout the year. So just a few slides, Commissioners, and I'll begin with, first of all, just in terms of organization, this format will look very familiar to you. It's organized in the structure of our strategic plan. The annual report highlights our progress toward 58 strategic initiatives, 16 targets, and our 4 bold goals. And you will see that just in our second year of the plan, it's already yielding exceptional results. Commissioners, the annual report starts off, before I get into the 4 big areas, it starts off with an overview of fiscal stewardship, again, because that is so important. Let me just hit a few of the big highlights there. It talks about how this board balanced the 2018 budget with no change in the millage rate or to the EMS MSTU. I believe that's for the 7th consecutive year. And in fact, with a 24% reduction in EMS transport fees, saving customers about $800,000 annually. We did this, of course, in a budget year where we also properly planned for the potential impact of the homestead exemption should it pass on the November ballot. As part of the board's long-term fiscal plan to that end, Commissioners, you'll note that we restructured the CRA. We actually extended investments in the South Side and Frenchtown CRAs. But in the process of that restructuring, we were able to set aside about $2 million, again, to mitigate the impact to taxpayers of the potential homestead exemption. In the area of fiscal stewardship, Commissioners, our employees continue to be a big part of positioning the county for our best financial future. Again, we note $230,000 in recurring savings that employees identified through our year-round cost avoidance, efficiency, and innovation efforts. We also yielded, again, in just this year alone, $4.3 million in one-time cost savings. Commissioners, of course, performance like this leads directly to our ability to continue to have the lowest net budget per capita of any comparable county and the second lowest number of employees per capita. I remind people, Commissioners, why those efficiency metrics are important and impressive. They're even that much more so when you consider the fact that we do that in Leon County year in and year out with some of the highest percentage of taxes off the tax rolls due to property tax exemptions. Again, these are efficiency metrics, Commissioners. You're very familiar with them. They're ones that we track. But what we do at the county is so much more than being efficient. It's actually about getting results with the resources that we do have. And so in the next 4 slides, and that's all we've got here, I just want to highlight on each of our 4 strategic priorities. And again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, with a almost 80-page annual report, this just scratches the surface. But in the area of the economy, you'll see here that we had, again, another record-breaking year in our tourism efforts. Obviously, we pay a lot of attention to tourism. This is one of our responsibilities at the county, and also because it has such a major impact on our overall economy. We had almost 2.5 million visitors, as you can see there. We're generating an economic impact to the community of $920 million last year, and supporting almost 15,000 jobs in 2018. Those numbers, Commissioners, as you know, include visitors from around the world who came here when we hosted the America's Competitive Exchange. I know we just talked about that at your workshop last week at Blueprint. But wherein we showcased our innovation and our economic opportunities to over 50 representatives from more than 22 countries. In the area of permitting, we just talked about permitting. We facilitated significant increases in permitting activity, Commissioners, with added value and reducing times. And I know we'll come back and talk about that more, and I'm looking forward to doing that. In 2018, again, Commissioners, it was a big year for OEV as they gained momentum in implementing our first ever economic development strategy. You heard again just the other day some numbers from 2016, but in just 2018, they worked to create 120 full-time research and development jobs with almost $130 million impact in 2018. And we're able to accomplish some pretty high priority items, including the targeted industry study, the Magnetic Technologies Task Force, and the development and initiation of the Urban Revitalization Job Creation Program. Of course, some of our favorite programs, Commissioners, in the area of Leon Works in 2018, we continued to build our skilled workforce and bridge that skilled workforce gap. We hosted the third annual Leon Works Expo with a record 575 attendees. As you know, we've had to move it to the Civic Center because of that. And of course, hosting our fourth class of junior apprentices at the county. Again, just a snapshot in the area of economy. In the area of the environment, Commissioners, we made big progress on our bold goal to remove 500 septic tanks from the Color Springs Basin. 2 years into the plan, we have over 600. We're going to have to update our goal here pretty soon in December, but we're removing 600, either removing or replacing currently, with a total of $57 million in state and local funding programmed over the next 7 years. And that's because of a one of its kind and only long-term multi-year agreement between a county and the state of Florida to do this. Again, $57 million over the next 7 years. Just to hit a couple of more, recycling. Our recycling rate, we pay a lot of attention to, is up to 66%. That's an 11% increase over last year. We removed 247 tons of potentially hazardous materials from the solid waste stream through our recycling and reuse efforts. Commissioners, at your direction, we launched 4 additional pilot projects, for solar at the transfer station, Northeast Branch Library, the county courthouse, and the Appalachia Regional Park. And speaking of the Appalachian Regional Park, in 2018, we did some heavy lifting relative to the transition of the landfill to a prominent regional park, and also to prepare for the 2021 National Cross Country Championships. We initiated the closure of the landfill, a major undertaking in 2018. We implemented the ARP master plan. We began that implementation. In the process, we've met or exceeded all of the state's environmental standards, and we saved $3.6 million in doing so. Commissioners, moving quickly to the area of quality of life. Again, this is a big category which includes an awful lot of things. We've just sort of picked out a couple of the biggies here. In EMS, we have trained 1,600 people in 2018 in CPR and AED use. When we talk about measuring what matters, Commissioners, in 2018, we maintained a 41% cardiac survival rate. I always have to say this one is probably the singular statistic in Leon County that blows me away more than any other. The national average is 18%. to survive a cardiac arrest. In Leon County, it's 41%. And having that trained population on CPR and AED use is a very, very big part of that. Commissioners, we assisted veterans and families to receive over $22 million in benefits in 2018 alone. We worked in the area of affordable housing. We initiated our partnership with Purpose Built, as you well know, to support the redevelopment of the Orange Avenue apartments, and we began to establish a local community land trust. Commissioners, we kicked off the Miccosukee Sense of Place initiative, and as our video noted, we opened 204 new acres of parkland in Leon County in 2018 with the opening of the St. Mark's Greenway and the Northeast Trail. And again, it just scratches the surface. Finally, Commissioners, in our area of governance, we took on this year the staffing effort of the Citizens Charter Committee, which is very important so that our government continues to reflect the preferences of our citizens. To reinforce ethics as a core practice of Leon County government, we created our ethics field manual. We conducted ethics training to all Leon County employees to demonstrate that we are an employer of choice. Commissioners, as you well know, at your direction, we conducted a gender pay equity study and found no indication of gender-based pay inequities in our organization. And we also implemented the parental leave policy to provide 6 weeks of parental leaves to parents. In the area of emergency management, rounding out a long list, Commissioners, in the area of governance, we became the first hurricane-strong community in the nation as designated by FEMA and FLASH. We're awfully proud of that. In addition to the 10 NACO awards that we received just in 2018, adding to our 50 total in the last 6 years, but who's counting? The answer is we are, Commissioners. And that rounds out the area of governance. Commissioners, as I mentioned at the very beginning, it's always a big mouthful for me this time of year when I bring you this annual report. But it is just a glimpse. We will make sure that what I distributed to you today in our almost 80-page annual report, it has the broadest distribution on our community. We'll share it with the media, with our social media outlets. And again, the annual report document and the video are also available on our website. Again, printed copies will be distributed to your offices. Commissioners, thank you again. We're looking forward to a great 2018-19, and that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Proctor is in queue to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's difficult to follow what obviously is a super report. It speaks, Commissioner Daley, to the excellence with which the county, year in and year out, the little engine that could, delivers. The enormity of the successes, the wide waterfront with which the county services span are pretty amazing. And I say congratulations to Vince and his staff. Outstanding work. Needless to say that those of us who've been commissioners for some time now here on the south end of the dais, we've actually been spoiled. Vince, we've been spoiled. And maybe even a sense of entitlement because our staff delivers. I was really impressed that one of the issues I had raised few meetings ago would be what would we do, how would we contemplate the measure that the state will decide if we take an additional $25,000 loss per property. And you indicated that steps have already been taken. See, that's the kind of stuff that makes our jobs less stressful. And when I say that we've been spoiled, we have excellent staff. Mr. Daley, I hope that you will retain this standard of excellence, and it may well be difficult to employ in a different culture, but if you can hold to the excellence with which we have exposed you and carry that into your future in Tallahassee, you know, you can only measure that the gifts of which people are given, and you could only measure if you was given $100 and did $100,000 worth of, I think Jesus called that the parable of the talent. And if you were born with $1 million and did $10 additional. And what we do here in Leon County is that we set an amazing bar year after year. Jasmine and I had to address the question about the millage rate before the editors of the Tallahassee Democrat, and could we provide the services, or would we tamper with the millage rate? And we both gave our responses, and I was able to y'all comfortable just to stick my own chest out and say that I'm totally comfortable that our staff is competent and there will be no increase in the millage. No, that's what we have. And Vince, I'm very, very pleased with this report. And there are merely two minor points. Well, one is not minor. One is kind of minor. It's not minor, but it's minor in the big scope of things. And next year, our next agenda item deals with the CHSP funding. And I was wondering why and how we would address the United Way changing their formula and withdrawing their support for our charitable organizations. And I wanted to know whether or not our net would be cast wide enough to encompass those who will suffer as a result of the United Way's collapse or recommitment or reorientation, whatever you have, but funds are going to dry up. And that question, coupled with these contingent $100,000 addition to our CHSP process, well, I just personally think that whether we want to give $100,000 addition to the CHSP, it don't have to be contingent on whether the city is benevolent enough to increase their funding. If it's something right to do, we shouldn't rely upon the eyeballs of the city of Tallahassee. We should trust our own. And in that next item, I think that there's going to be a tremendous need next year. And I don't have to look through anyone's eyes to note that adding another 100 is just going to be the tip of an iceberg where we're falling short. I've talked lengthy, but I'm just one question, and then I have one other question. Have we contemplated in this A+ report card how we might embrace the shortfall for community organizations next year?
Mr. Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Proctor, I think the short answer for that is the board, you established all the way back in, I think, March, pursuant to your ordinance, the level of funding that you'll provide on an annual basis to the Community Human Services Partnerships. This year, the board determined that amount to be $1.2 million. You haven't reduced that. You've only increased that amount of dollars in the past few years. Whether it's enough or not, that's not a question that I can answer. I think the answer to that question is probably honestly always that it would probably never be enough to begin to meet the need, but for the good work of the human services agencies in our community. But relative to the United Way restructuring, Commissioner, we're very happy to talk about that. You're right. That's significant, and programmatically where the United Way is going relative to sort of their categorical funding and their focus on ALICE agencies only, my understanding, is something that I'm sure will have an impact and probably a disparate impact on agencies depending on the services that they provide. But we're very happy to talk about that more. But in terms of the amount Again, it's 1.2 plus the 100,000, which we're very happy to talk about. Now we're in item 13 to address what was an unforeseen issue in this year's process.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor.
Yeah, we'll take it up at item 13, I would assume then. Do we have a motion to approve our annual report?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the annual report 2018 in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes 6-0 with Commissioner Maddox out of chambers. Moving on, any other questions about the annual report? Moving on, preservation of archaeological and historical findings at development sites. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item comes at your request recently for an update on the preservation of archaeological and historic findings at development sites. There's a lot of information here, Commissioners, about the emphasis that we place on preserving potential archaeological features which may be present during the redevelopment process. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have about that. We're recommending options 1 and 2 before you. I'll just note that we have about 6 or 7 speaker cards.
Well, I'd like to, I'm looking forward to hearing from the speakers. I would like to go ahead and move options 1 and 2. I'm very excited to see that we have, through this item, an ability to increase our ability, our computer ability to isolate archaeological sites throughout the community. It'll make us, right now, I think we have a kind of, I wouldn't say hearsay approach to finding out where possible archaeological sites are, but with, I think they call it the predictive software, which will bring a new level of scrutiny to areas that we want to be sure are recognized and preserved in various ways too. So I think we can make some real progress on that. And I've been hearing from a lot of the historic preservation community in the last several days who are very excited to see us trying to move forward in this. So I look forward to hearing some of the comments from those who are here to speak for it.
Yeah, we have a couple of commissioners in queue to speak, but we do have a motion, correct? Okay. Okay. Well, we'll wait for a second until after our speakers. Okay. Well, Mr. Administrator, speakers to be heard.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the first speaker is Lonnie Mann.
Remind you to give your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Lonnie Mann, 1120 East Windwood Way, Tallahassee, Florida. I'm with the Panhandle Archaeological Society at Tallahassee. We are a 120-member nonprofit formed in 1999, and we provide archaeological education, outreach, and investigation with a view to preserving our incredible heritage here. Beneath Tallahassee and Leon's terrain, archaeologists have documented many sites, and many more have yet to be discovered. Most sites are not visibly spectacular like Jackson Mounds, but each contributes a sentence or a page to the cumulative archaeological record and our knowledge of the past. Archaeological sites are non-renewable. Once destroyed, they do not grow back and can never be made whole again. We believe the county staff report is thoughtful and well-written. Incorporation of an archaeological sensitivity model and map overlays will improve identification and documentation of resources. This measure would increase the likelihood of identifying whether resources exist before ground disturbing activities begin and decrease the likelihood of unexpected finds. This will be an improvement on the current sole reliance on a determination by the Division of Historical Resources. We strongly support this measure. When ground disturbing activities do occur, the county requires the permit holder to contact the Florida Department of Historical Resources for advice on documenting any unexpected finds of archaeological resources. For a variety of reasons, we do not believe that this process is working effectively. We believe one small and economical way to begin to improve this process is to increase the capacity of county staff, who I must say have been very helpful. I mean, they're just such bright, engaged people and have really been helpful over the years in working with us, and I want to compliment them, Jill Weissman in particular. Can I have 2 more minutes, and some of our other folks will be a little shorter? 1 more minute?
That's fine, 1 minute.
Okay. The Florida Bureau of Archaeological Research has a 2-day training that they do for state park staff and will make it available to county staff at no cost. Staff has shown interest. We would like the Commission to formally express their support for participation. Is that my minute?
Finish for us.
Okay. The staff report does not recommend establishing a position for a preservation specialist, and yet the county retains staff with professional expertise to manage and protect numerous other types of valuable resources. Our county's resource is unique, goes back further chronologically, involves more civilizations and occupations, and its significance as the capital is especially important. We think we can do better than Bay, Clay, and Volusia counties in protecting our heritage. We believe that having in-house expertise will help deal with unexpected discoveries in an expeditious way, result in more intelligent use of improved mapping activities, and provide for value for guiding activities on county-owned property and enhancing tourism development. We're sensitive to the county's concern about future revenue reductions, but suggest that consideration of a shared county-city position should be entertained. Past has voted to pay for the expenses of a Palm Beach County cultural resource specialist to conduct a workshop for city and county staff on the utility and functions of his position. We have also...
Go ahead and bring it in.
Okay. We request the county not foreclose further consideration of a preservation specialist and that you direct appropriate county staff to engage with the past study group in gathering additional information and context on this issue.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Administrator, we have other speakers.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The next speaker is Melissa Wiley.
And again, please state your name and address for the record. And we won't take your time away from you.
My name is Melissa Wiley. I live at 9689 North Horseshoe Road, and I can give Lonnie some of my time, no problem. I'm the executive director of the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. We're the state's nonprofit dedicated to preserving Florida's history and heritage. And I just wanted to share our support for your efforts to identify historic resources and archaeological resources in our community and to work to save them. And we thank you for your stewardship and for your time considering this. Thank you.
Next speaker is Julie Duggins, and forgive me if I got your last name wrong. All right.
I'm Julie Duggins, 2115 Seminole Drive, District 5. I work for Paleo West Archaeology, but I'm just here today as a private citizen, not my archaeological consulting firm. I agree with everything Lonnie said in the Panhandle Archaeological Society of Tallahassee's recommendations, but I do want to underscore one thing while I have the mic. I've noticed here, sitting in the chambers today, that you guys underscored over and over the importance of permitting and the importance of streamlining these permits and getting the approvals that developers need into their hands as quickly as possible. And I can tell you right now that from my experience, not as a citizen, it currently goes from the applicant to the state, to the applicant, to the consultant, to the applicant, to the state, back to the applicant. And I think there's room for improving, and I think that Lonnie's suggestion to adopt a predictive model will be one step in the right direction. Lastly, I think what we're all trying to do here, what you guys I know are trying to do, and what your wonderful staff is doing, you're just trying to make our county as great as the other counties, if not the best, because we are, after all, where the capital is located in Florida. And I think that other counties have shown leadership in historic preservation, and they've appointed a position specifically for archaeology. And I think we should catch up with Palm Beach County and Sarasota County and cities like St. Augustine and Pensacola. And I think that we are that county without even stretching. So I won't waste any more of your time. Thanks for hearing this today.
Next speaker is Jeffrey Shanks.
Hi, it's Jeffrey Shanks, 1425 Silver Pine Lane. It's District 4. Thank you for having us here today and hearing us out. I am a professional archaeologist with the National Park Service. I am based here in Tallahassee at the Southeast Archaeological Center. And mostly what we do is archaeology in national parks around the Southeast, but the division I'm in is part of the National Park Service Archaeological Assistance Program. And what we do is provide technical assistance to other agencies, states, municipalities, counties, in helping them manage their archaeological needs and their cultural resource management needs. And as someone who has been following what Leon County has been doing, I just want to say both professionally and personally, as someone who's lived in Leon County for 30 years almost, that you guys are doing such an amazing job. Leon County is already ahead of a lot of counties, and I want to commend you for that. And I also want to thank this commission in particular for continuing that discussion and recognizing that while you already have a great program for protecting cultural resources, there's always room for improvement. And a lot of what we do in the National Park Service is focused on implementing the National Historic Preservation Act, which is now in its 52nd year. And what that act does is try to find a way to balance the needs of development and responsible growth and the protection of our unique historic properties. The states, in many cases, including Florida, have passed legislation to do similar things in their jurisdictions. And what you already have here in Leon County is a step along similar lines. And so it really heartens me to see that you're continuing that discussion, to look for other ways in which you can continue to do that, to find that balance. Because it is important. It is important to recognize our history. We can't really truly understand where we're going if we don't know where we are now, and we can't understand really where we are now if we don't know the story of how we got here as a community. And so that's what I urge you to continue your good efforts, and I thank you for what you've already done and for what you continue to do. Thanks so much.
Thanks, sir. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Ann Bidlingmeyer.
Name and address for record, please, ma'am. How you doing, Ann?
Hi, I'm Ann Bidlingmeyer, 1920 Harriet Drive, Tallahassee 32303. I'm also president of the Florida Heritage Foundation, and we have awards presentations every 3 years honoring historic preservation projects, and it's been very popular. I would like to say that including an archaeologist, and we need to not confuse archaeologist with historic preservationist, including an archaeologist position can be a constructive and efficient way to clear up some of the clarity and unclarity and lack of direction in the county. The county's doing a good job, and I'm glad to see this item on the agenda, but we need to focus a little more on archaeology. Because actually, historic finds and archaeological finds bring tourists as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Jonathan Lammers.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Lammers. I live at 3164 Lakeshore Drive here in Tallahassee. Just like to underscore some of the other comments that have been made. In particular, Lonnie mentioned potentially doing some training for staff. I think that's a great idea. In the 1990s, I worked for the Bureau of Archaeological Research. We conducted training for state parks, law enforcement personnel, just so they would know what they were seeing on the ground. One thing you need to know is that if a construction crew is out and somebody's running an excavator, it's not as though they make one pass and suddenly, well, sometimes this does happen, the ground is littered with arrowheads and axes and everything's perfect. It helps to have people to know what they're seeing and know when to introduce a pause into what's going on. And so I think that'd be really valuable. And in case you missed it as Lonnie was speaking, staff can do that for free. So I really encourage that and as much as I possibly can. Also, I do support the idea of having a dedicated archaeologist or preservation staff. I know that's down the line somewhere, but I'd like for you all just to be thinking about that. It's really good to have a point person who's available, who can work with staff and act as a liaison with the preservation community. I did that for many years out in San Francisco and California. We have great people on staff in the county for our natural resources. Archaeological and historic resources are a big part of our identity. We have some of the best sites in the Southeast, in San Luis and Lake Jackson Mounds here in our town. We really should capitalize on that. And so that's how I feel. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, sir. Next speaker.
And the last speaker, it appears she would like to wave and support Janice Bordelon. Or maybe not.
Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Janice Bordelon. I live at 1121 East Wynwood Way. I'm Lonnie's neighbor, and I'm coming to you as a private citizen. And I have to say that I feel like Leon County has a treasure trove of artifacts and archaeological resources, and I certainly support a process that's an effective process that will, once an artifact has been discovered by a developer or a site, that this site is protected. And not only are the artifacts protected, but there's an opportunity for research and documentation. And certainly a professional archaeological staff would be excellent in that respect. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more speakers, Mr. Administrator?
Concludes our speakers.
I'd like to thank the Vice Chair for holding it down for me while I was away. I heard you did a great job. Most, yeah. All right, I have 3 speakers in queue to speak, unless he left it up here. Commissioner Deloge, Commissioner Dozier, and Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out, I'm a frustrated archaeologist. I always wanted to be kind of Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of thing. And there are, as Ann pointed out, tourism type things. I know the America's First Christmas thing, which Carrie is very familiar with, which we think we can capitalize on as a community and point out that the first Christmas in North America was celebrated here, right down the steps from right down the street from the Capitol. So anyway, I think it's a great idea and appreciate staff putting this together.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I first have to thank Lonnie, Jonathan, everyone for giving me an education in the last few months. This issue came up at our CRA meeting and inspired me to wonder, and many of us to wonder, what are we doing and could we do more? And part of that is because we're seeing a lot more development, redevelopment, but a different type of development, right? Deeper holes being dug right behind the courthouse, in fact. Sites that may not have had that kind of excavation in the past. So I also really appreciate the comments you all made about what we've already done. And Mr. County Administrator, the report is, I think, more than we could have hoped for, not only in the review of what we're currently doing, but what other cities and counties in one city around the state are doing. I agree with staff direction to engage the stakeholders in the city to look for next steps. I would love for us to get to a point, we've got to see where Homestead is and other things like that, where we could have, from staff training to an individual that was focused on our cultural resources, shared position with city and county, something like that, is really interesting to me. And the predictive modeling, as you said, Commissioner Lindley, really is interesting as well. One key point here to me is that, and I'm really glad, Ms. Duggins, you mentioned this, the the efficiency in permitting. That is on my mind constantly. And this came up at the CRA meeting, that if we can get ahead of this in some way, we may actually improve the system of processing the sites and helping developers and the consultants, but also clearing some sites before we start to market them or as we start to do economic development. And I will conclude with this, Mr. Chair. Still very excited about the vote we took last week at Blueprint for the proposed incubator at Innovation Park. That grant will be submitted to the federal government this week. But we already know, the Innovation Park Board, and our staff is working on this, your staff is working on this, that cultural artifacts have been found at the Innovation Park where SEAC, the Southeast Regional Archaeological Center, and our Department of Anthropology from FSU reside. And we are going to get ahead of assessing the sites at Innovation Park so that they're more marketable in the future. And just a very real-time example that just came up in the last few weeks. I wanted to share that with you because that's, I think, the connection to the economic development and the marketing and the efficiency with permitting. So I'm excited about this. I hope it's just the first step, and thank you all for showing up today. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Potter, you in queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Dozier indicated the vote that was taken at the Blueprint meeting last week. And it was exactly the reasoning, all the cognitive and non-sentimental factors which she shared regarding Innovation Park. And we voted to enhance it, to make sure that it was at its maximum capacity in the designated area in which services and uses would be extracted from that property. Her excitement, it dazzles my spirit that she's happy. It was with equal dismay that the same logic could not be applied to the enhancement of our fairground at that Blueprint meeting, that it as a property would have its maximum capacity reach, and that the opportunities which we could render there could be applied the same. You understand what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman?
Say again?
Do you understand what I was saying?
I heard everything you said.
Good. So it's just amazing that we desire to maximize the capacity of a piece of property in the south side, which is Innovation Park. And right up the street, we just don't, we're indifferent to maximizing and applying the same application of thought to fairground property. And it's on that basis which I was quite dismayed, and not sure it was a misunderstanding, but I know that Commissioner Daley would do everything he could for all parts of our community, but he didn't take that chance to do it last week. And our would-be governor would do a lot for the citizens of Florida, even downstate Florida, but he wouldn't take the chance to do that last week with a pleading commissioner that we maximize the potential of each piece of property, in particular a piece of property that's in the direct ownership and custody of Leon County's government. And again, I just take, I think Commissioner Dozier's comments were worthy, and it's the thoughts that she applied and the investment that we made for Innovation Park is why I pleaded long and continuous to this commission that we would not exclude our fairground property. And I think that one of the Vince's report today, he talked about the efforts to put sewer services in the south end of the community, desperately needed. But likewise, for a property that we own in the 21st century, it's time to build a facility that has indoor bathrooms, and at the fairground, every restroom, public restroom at the fairground is an outdoor bathroom facility. So it's a desire not only for maximizing the property, but even its most fundamental and basic realizations of indoor plumbing could be provided. And I did support Commissioner Dozier's dream team idea to move forward with Innovation Park because I believe in maximizing property. But I'm asking you all to reimagine and to have equal vigor as a mayor, as a future governor, at-large commissioners, to see the whole county to be inclusive of a standard of excellence for everybody's side. And I appreciate your time in hearing again through the lens and voice of Commissioner Dozier. She gave a great point about Innovation Park. I'm attempting to echo and hope that her comments would reverberate as a me too for the fairground. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes, sir. I have Commissioner Daley, Commissioner Lindley. Commissioner Daley?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I certainly do appreciate it. I strongly support the item before us today, and I want to go ahead and go on the record and state that I support putting an archaeologist and a preservationist on staff. I think it's a great conversation to have in the future regarding the Joint Planning Department. I think it's a perfect place with all the resources that we have here, and I look forward to that conversation as well. Actually, I wanted to jump in because I'm looking at our friends from the community that are here, and I want to formally put something on the record and throw an idea out there. And I look forward to having conversations with Commissioner-elect Minor on this as well. Has anybody in the archaeology world taken a serious look at the Fred George Park and the sinkhole in particular in the cavern system? Over the years, I've had amazing conversations with individuals that have lived out there and spent their entire life out there. A couple of them in particular are more seasoned friends that literally say 60 years ago as children, they used to play in the cave system back there, and they swear it is as intricate and complicated as the Mariana Caverns. And they tell stories about their families going back in the caves. Now, granted, since then, a portion of it has caved in. It is blocked off. It is not for public access. I get that. But for the right professionals to gain access in an appropriate manner, I just think that it is a hidden jewel that is worth mapping and exploring. And if there is any way to stabilize and even turn it into some type of public access like the caverns, that's a big pie in the sky idea, but it's just out there. I haven't heard of anybody that has professionally taken the next step to look at the system out there. And I just want to put that on the table. If I can help facilitate the conversation with some of the residents that live out there, I'd be more than happy to. But yeah, I think it's a neat opportunity. That's all. And I support the item on the table.
Commissioners, I have no motion yet, but I'll go ahead and recognize Commissioner Lindley. Hopefully she'll make one.
Pardon me?
I have no motion on the floor yet for the item.
You do have a motion on the floor. I made the motion. But I just wondered.
Oh, you did?
I did. I think right before you said
Oh, before the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wondered if option 2, which is to further and evaluate, if we could just make sure the evaluation includes a possible look at an archaeologist or preservationist. It's a big deal to hire a new person for our county, not the city so much, perhaps. But so that really does need to be looked at in its perspective to the economy and tourism and so forth. But I just wanted to add that as something to be sure to consider as well.
Before you go on, Commissioner Lindley.
Pardon me?
Point of clarification here, because I wasn't here, but the Vice Chair said there was a motion, but there was no second. So could you remake the motion? Oh, Commissioner Dozier?
Thank you.
Would you amend your motion to reflect what you just said if you wanted it to?
Yeah, and I'm not even finished saying, but I will just add one more thing, which is the staff training also. I thought that was a really great suggestion, just to include that in the evaluation of what costs might be for our budget year in 2020. So now I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Dozier, would you accept those? It was 2, right? 2 amendments to the motion?
Yes, and Mr. Chair, if you'd indulge one other quick comment on point here.
Yes.
I don't think I mentioned this a moment ago, forgive me if I did, but among the stakeholders group, I think that it would be very useful to use someone like a consultant who works with developers, with professionals and others, and sees the permitting process as well. We might gain a lot of insights. And Ms. Duggins, again, I mentioned you twice here, but I really appreciate your comments in illuminating that point. So it's not someone who is on the stakeholders list. Ms. County Administrator, you may have picked up on the same exact thing already, but if that could be part of the motion, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Happy with that.
Motion on the floor is for options number 1 and number 2 as amended by Commissioner Dozier and Commissioner Lindley. Motion made by Commissioner Lindley, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on now to item number 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item 13 seeks board approval of the annual CHSP grant recommendations to agencies in the amount of $1.3 million. This includes a $100,000 increase to the $1.2 million previously budgeted to avoid significant decreases to agencies as a result of the recent CHSP reorganization as described in the analysis of the item. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. We have 2 speaker cards on this item.
Speakers?
The first speaker is Amber Tynan.
Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Sure. Amber Tynan, 3100 Layla Street, 32303. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and Mr. County Administrator, for the opportunity to speak today. I am representing United Partners for Human Services. We are a not-for-profit organization representative of over 90 members of nonprofit agencies that are funded through CHSP as well as their allies. And we've had a long-standing collaborative relationship with both the county and the city to help our nonprofits really increase and strengthen their capacity, as well as streamline the delivery of human services within our community, but also working with you all and the staffs to help justify an increase in funding through the CHSP process because the needs are so dire here in our community. What I wanted to just share is in our current fiscal year, so 17-18, the agencies funded within this process received a 38% cut this year from last year. And when you consider going into the 18-19 years with the exit of the United Way, another 58% of those same agencies received cuts from them. So we know that that's an ongoing trend. We know that that's causing a lot of uncertainty. So we really just want to thank you all for your support of this recommended item of adding an increased amount of $100,000 to the process to make agencies that received a significant decrease whole. Historically, what happens, nonprofits, they have to make the decision when that happens. Do we cut staff? Do we cut services? And oftentimes it's the first two versus seeking outside funding options just because of the capacity. And then what ends up happening is our community and those that utilize those services have less access to them that help them provide that quality of life that you can show such incredible benchmarks on in your annual report. So because of this, we just want to sincerely appreciate you all for your time and your leadership. Shington and his entire team, all of the commissioners, our member agencies, I know you've taken time to meet with some of them to support this. It really does help us make a tremendous impact. And just knowing that as we move forward with the needs assessment that will be conducted, that will really help, as Commissioner Proctor suggested, with really casting that net a little bit wider to understand what those needs are, where the disparities lie, the assets that we have available, and how we could potentially coordinate care in a more streamlined way to have a collective impact, but to also move the needle on issues that are affecting our community. So on behalf of UPHS and our entire membership, thank you so much for your continued support and your generosity throughout the years since its inception, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Mary Deacle.
Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm Mary Deacle. I reside at 1416 North Bruno Street, and I have the privilege of working for Second Harvest with the Big Bend. Thank you, Amber, for saying it so well. I'm just waving in support.
Thank you, ma'am. I have Commissioner Proctor in queue to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we heard a beautiful report, glowing A+++ from County Administrator. Yet we know that under 1% of our budget is actually supplied to these categories called human services as it pertains to what Ms. Amber just talked about. I was hopeful that maybe if an assessment had been made on the United Way changing their mission, has there been any specific awareness of how painful and how much that loss might be? I think it compels us to not hesitate on the $1.3 million recommendation by staff, and again, that it not be contingent. What we saw as a commission this year, this spring, we saw the Alice report that was put out by the United Way, and I am very comfortable there's nothing been as competent as the Alice report, and no other data that has removed it, which cites the prevalence of hunger, homelessness, whole litany of needs across the community. And if there is nothing else, we were provided this year with a fresh perspective by the Alice report that makes me recognize that we're not, and maybe it's philosophical, I don't know what it would take for us to reach a philosophic basis that 1% of our county's dollar could go to human services. And I imagine that 1% would be something like $2.5 million for us or something, $2.6 million or something. And that's where we should be, a whole percent for this category that reflects our concern, our excellence, and I'm still striving, and I'm hopeful that when Commissioner Minor takes this dais, that something in his life history will compel his efforts, along with my own, and we get 2 other votes up here, to recognize that we should strive to make 1% a goal that we dedicate to human services. I think it reflects excellence of moral type, excellence in the realm of compassion. I look at Sister Karen there, and I note her long career, how compassionate a fighter she has been, Karen Woodall. The halls of our legislature have been decorated by her shadow, arguing for the needs of people. And in our lives, there are a few moments that we get to walk the talk of our faith, to walk the talk of what we say and what ought to be. But we have an active moment as commissioners of Leon County to demonstrate our empathy, our perspectives of what the Christ said would be the last question. When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was thirsty, did you give me drink? When I needed your help, were you there to assist? This from the theologic perspective of which many of us are cultured in. There's a permanent question. It's not just our generation. It's been a long-standing question. When I am in need, do you answer? Do you hear? Do you see me? And I think that philosophically, or that might be the wrong word, but shoot, we need 1% of our budget, commissioners, a whole percent. We're dealing with fractions. And when 38% of the human population, and I heard a conversation last week about the dogs, that the shelter is old, we needed to do something for the animals. I mean, people really in there going in passionate about that. And I knew I was in America, because that kind of topic can only occur when people come down there like they was arguing for people. And y'all We got to stand a little taller. And next year when Vince's report card comes in here, that we have made a 1% difference. But when we got an Alice report telling us 30-some% of our community is challenged, and we're doing less than a fraction of 1%, we can do better. So Rick Minor, I'm telling you, I'm hoping that you come in here with some energy to do better. You can find 2 votes on this dais to want to do better. I want to be guilty. I want to be very guilty of trying to do better. And I want to be guilty that I didn't think it was too much and it was not robbery that 1% of all of this tax money could more than $1.3 million could go serve the collective efforts of Ms. Amy and others. Y'all, it's just time that we do better and we make this a priority. So next year, 19 and 20 budget, I hope to be here and I hope to bring this issue again. And it's a desire on my part as a Christian. I want to be a Christian right now. I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to be nobody else, but to say that I love Jesus and that I believe in that and I talk that and I believe that with all my heart. And I feel that, if this ain't the right place, too bad. I feel that if we all stack up in churches asking for votes, we damn well ought to vote right here like we believe in the churches that we're soliciting from their thought wave, okay? Don't come to my church if you don't want to do nothing about helping people, because that's what we want to do. And that's what I want to see next year. I want to see us go to a full 1% supporting and doing better than what we're doing. We put so much money, we can't even get a bathroom for a public place inside. But we freely dilly money here, there, everywhere, and can't give the poor with an Alice report showing us up for who we are. Hypocritical. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Dozier and Commissioner Lilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate comments that were made and those directors and other agency staff who are in the room. I really appreciate how closely you all have worked with our staff. Mr. County Administrator, really want to echo some of Amber's comments that I have been impressed by how hard our staff has worked throughout this transition to try to come up with a way to hold agencies harmless as much as we could. Obviously, there's been a huge impact in recent years with decreased United Way funding even before we got to this point. So I do support the item. I think it's good for this year. And I think we have made some progress with the 2 years and initiating the needs assessment. For one, I'm thinking ahead. Whenever this needs assessment comes back, it may very well have an impact on what money different agencies can be awarded, how much money is in different categories based on that need. Commissioner Proctor mentioned the Alice report. We've seen a lot of discussions about data. I think we're getting smarter and more efficient over time, but that may mean we're faced with choices to direct more funding in one critical need area or another. So just with that acknowledgement, I think we're in a good place right now. I think we have a good team working with agencies and other stakeholders to partner on this. The other thing, I guess, just a couple of quick questions on this. Our next item deals with reentry and coordination, and thinking about that model, we can improve efficiency also with greater coordination. And I wonder, Mr. County Administrator, when I look at the list of funding, I think I'm right about this, but the city's funding comes from both grants, CDBG, and general revenue, and county funding is general revenue, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I know there are different funding mechanisms accessible by cities and counties. We may not qualify for the same thing, But as we go into the review and the needs assessment, I was wondering, Ms. County Administrator, would it be helpful, you all have probably already done this, but to look for any other grant opportunities that may increase or be able to apply for dollars along with the city that would be dedicated to this? I applaud Commissioner Proctor's goal of 1%, but we've got limited dollars, might be decreasing, and this is going to be a long-term challenge. So I think the coordination piece, like reentry, might help take, hopefully, the burden off some agencies longer term. But on the other side, we need to get creative in looking for other funding resources as well. So forgive me, Ms. County Administrator, I said that as a question, and then I went on and made a statement about it. So do you think there might be opportunities to look for other grants or to at least have a partnership with the city where we keep an eye on additional funding sources?
Yes, we will, Commissioner, make sure that we explore that during that needs assessment.
Great. Thank you for that. And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, do you have a motion yet? No, okay. I'll move the item.
Staff recommendation been moved by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Deloge.
And one last comment that I think is related to this. As Commissioner Proctor said, we've heard the Alice report. We heard a tremendous amount of information during the Children's Service Council discussion this spring and others. I think we're honing in, again, into a greater efficiency and higher level of understanding of how to affect some of these issues and help individuals throughout our community. So I wanted to take a moment and say to Commissioner Daley and to your aide, Thomas Whitley, that I have heard several people comment on the first Children's Service Council meeting and how great a job you did, Commissioner Daley, running the meeting very efficiently and getting a lot of participation, and your comments about, Thomas, your work to get the experts in the room. And that was another layer of information that reinforces this. But I wanted to take that moment. Looking forward to seeing the results of that, but I'm glad it's off to such a good start, so thank you.
Commissioner Lindley.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate also the goal of a 1% assistance, but I just feel compelled to point out that right now what we are talking about is the money that goes to the Human Services Partnership. I know the county does a lot of other things. We support the Kearney Center. We give all kinds of assistance in housing and other programs that really do address a lot of the people who are affected by the Alice report, which is essentially the working poor, I think. So I think maybe at our workshop in December, we could probably stretch beyond the CHSP money and look to the very many things we do that may all kind of point to our work in human services in general for our community, because I think it's substantial and it's probably far exceeds 1% of our budget actually. So that might be a later conversation. For now, I'm happy to support what we're doing now and the additional money that will help kind of get these agencies across the threshold, particularly the ones that have suffered quite a bit of a loss because of the change with our relationship with the United Way.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Lindley. I have no more commissioners in queue to speak. We'll go to a vote. All those in favor of staff recommendation on item number 13 made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Deloge, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0 on item number 14.
Mr. Chairman, this item provides a status report on offender reentry programs and the Public Safety Coordinating Council's annual recommendation on the FY19 diversionary funds. We're recommending options 1, 2, and 3. We have no speakers on this item. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Proctor, you being the chair of the PSCC, would you like to offer comments first? If not, I have Commissioner Dozier in queue to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These recommendations are well thought out. I think the staff has done a segue and given us some background conversation as to a future look in spreading the canopy of service providers and integrating more than one actress, and bringing different components. And I think that's, I appreciate that, Vince, for you all's creativity and spreading the, again, the canopy of actors and actresses in in this scene. So I'll yield the floor on that. I really appreciate us looking in that direction.
Commissioner Pryor, is there a motion for options number 1 and 2?
1 through 3, sir. Is that it? 1, 2, 3?
1 and 2 is staff recommendation.
I second the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on item 14. Yes, 1 through 3. Items 1 through 3 has been moved by Commissioner Prater, seconded by Commissioner Lindley. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate this item and staff's recommendation, working with our partners with the sheriff and everyone in the department and at the detention facility. I've finally stopped using the word jail, at least in our community, so I've got that. As we've reflected on before, many of us have been in different conversations about criminal justice, the courts, reentry, and I really like this idea of looking for more opportunities on a reentry center and coordinating those options. Two quick things, Mr. County Administrator, there was a grant opportunity, and I don't know enough about this to know if it's annual or if it was one time, but the due date was around May or so. The Sheriff McNeil was aware of, and I believe Ready for Work was trying to apply, but it takes a coalition to look at that. So often we get the recommendations in September, of course. My hope is, and if the maker of the motion could add this to the motion, if you all were receptive to this, if there is a review or any recommendation from the PSCC prior to September, I would love to hear some comments about this in the spring. As we look at budget, as we may look at opportunities to apply for a grant or support a grant option, I think that would be very helpful. And there are a lot of, it seems like there are funding options out there if we can show that we are coordinating. So this move today, I think, really will help us in the future. Ms. County Administrator, does that align with what you all have learned?
Yeah, I'd have to check on what we've learned, but from that standpoint, we could certainly take that direction and bring that back in spring.
Okay. Would the maker of the motion? Thank you.
Sure, I think
Mr.
that's
Roger.
excellent, and I would also encourage Vince that over the last 2 years, I believe, there have been several conferences around the country that I believe Virginia was one, Pennsylvania was another. But these conversations are going, and Brian probably knows all the places where these are occurring. But I would like to encourage staffs visiting some of these big conferences that talk about this kind of stuff and can bring back to us funding, and we can get real progressive in this area. But we just don't want to sit and wait for, we have to be aggressive and go out and pursue. And the legislature has actually been hostile, just downright indifferent. So we've got to go beyond what we could expect to get from across the street in this category of life.
Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair, yeah, thank you, Commissioner Proctor, for accepting that in the motion. The only other thing I was going to say is that the LIFT program has been a great one. We've funded it for many years. I don't want us to get into a position where we're looking at two good programs pitted against each other for one budget. We have talked in the past about looking for other funding sources for LIFT. My understanding was PSCC is not supposed to be annual, and it has been. I think we've all agreed this was a great program, but I just wanted to acknowledge that we may need to look at various funding options if we're going to move forward with something like a reentry center or something like that. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. County Administrator. This is a great report.
Commissioner Daley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it, and I fully support the staff recommendation. The motion is on the table. I would also like to go on the record and go ahead and remind us that as we look at our reentry programs, and we look at the LIFT program in particular, to always strive that one of the goals of those that are incarcerated that we're preparing for reentry is getting their GED. So I spent 2 hours this morning out at Lively Votech, specifically discussing the trades programs and how do we get people back to work and what are the requirements. And one of the first things that I stress is when you walk in the front door and you want to enter into one of the trades programs, no matter what the trades program is, first thing they're going to ask is, do you have your GED? And if you don't, we have to go and work on getting that GED first and foremost. We can train people to learn how to write a resume, do PowerPoint, the whole 9 yards. But if we're going to put people back to work, one of the key elements is the GED. So I think that should always be first and foremost and should be a hefty part of the LIFT program, which I know it is. I'm just throwing my support and reminding us that that education, even while incarcerated, is so important to be able to prepare people to move forward. I look forward to supporting the motion on the table.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Protner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're not, and I think that Wanda Hunter is very keenly aware of these things. We're not, no one is hostile to LIFT because LIFT is actually, they begin with the in-service while persons incarcerated. They actually have follow-up care, and their service begins in-house, and it walks with the incarcerated when they have left that house. And I mean, it's just amazing. And it's very, very hard to, and once the inmates are familiar with the service providers, there's something of a bond, there's something of trust, there's something of familiarity with which they lean on. And going to a separate and a brand new agency is a little, can be shocking. And when they have relationships established, which started in the jail, and they continue to lean on the same people once they leave, that is a critical dimension with which the members of the PSCC they all recognize. So it's not that, Commissioner Dozier, that we've got stuck leaning on LIFT. It's just that LIFT has a product that begins internally and it extends externally, and that relation to you can't throw it away. You leave people who are already vulnerable, even more so. However, what I think staff has identified, when you look at the table on page 4, and it specifically to what Commissioner Daly has just said, when you look at ready to work among the 7 entities that have been offered offender reentry, ready to work has the education assistance component. They stand alone. Secondly, when you look at this graph of the 7 entities that do reentry, they also are the single entity that provides for mental health treatment. So those are, you can't deny that they're doing something uniquely different, education and mental health, as well as a plethora of other services that meet everybody else's offerings. And this is why we see something beautiful emerging that, I was tempted to make a motion that we do it immediately, but, let's let the process play out. So this idea, I think, embraces what you're saying, but we need more money because we have 2 entities that are doing an outstanding job. And for the work that they do, you hate to see a few coins stop what they can do, what they can become and fulfill with just a few dollars. So, Mr. Chairman, pull the plug on Mr. Chairman because I'm getting caught up, sir.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am not dismissing the importance of LIFT, and Commissioner Daly, you hit on a critical piece. There are a lot of groups that help provide services to people who've come out of prison or the detention center, but they're limited programs. The coordinated reentry would connect people with all types of housing resources or workforce training. Because both are so critical for our long-term goals, I don't want to pit LIFT against a reentry center. And that's what I'm saying, because we need both. So it's just on us and our partners to find a way to do that. And Mr. Chair, if you would indulge me, I know are you going to go to comment time before we break, or are you going to wait until after public hearing?
Oh, we got another item.
Oh, we have another item. Forgive me. Okay. Karen Woodall is here, who I met with about a resolution relating to juvenile justice, and just so she didn't have to wait until later, I will be asking for an agenda item or resolution dealing with some of our youth offenders and how we process them. So I'm going to save that for comment time unless you want to know any more about that now, but that will be another piece in this puzzle, I believe, that may help us, at least from the state end in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no more commissioners in queue to speak. The motion on the table is for staff recommendation made by the chair of the PSCC, Commissioner Proctor, seconded by Commissioner Lindley. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries without objection. We'll go now to item number 15. Mr. Administrator.
Commissioners, this item seeks the appointment of one citizen to the Joint School Coordinating Committee. The eligible candidates are before you in this item.
Mr. Chairman, before you say anything on this item.
Yes, sir.
I only saw the resume of the 14-page video of Dr. Young, and I didn't know Mr. Delbert has credentials, but I didn't see it in my thingamajig. Is it in here? Yeah, I see that part.
Yes, sir.
And then I looked at the application of Dr. Young, and I see her very impressive 16-page video. I didn't know what to compare the two applicants to, other than to see that the Dr. Dilbert, Mr. Dilbert, has an interest in continuing to serve. But if it's for a qualified person, I only have that presentation view of Dr. Mary Young, and I don't know why we didn't get the other information. He didn't supply it. But I'm very impressed with what I've seen of Dr. Young. I wanted to say that up front, because if we were to have both sides, we don't have both information.
Will is the board. Commissioner Proctor, if you want to make a motion. If not, I have no more commissioners in queue to speak. Mr. Dilbert does.
I mean, if they may notice, Mr. Dilbert, I don't. I see staff is giving us Dr. Young. It's truly impressive to serve in a school capacity, but I wanted to be fair to both applicants. We just need to have their information, that we're just not shooting in the dark. I don't want to vote against someone and don't know who they are.
So we could continue this item. I don't think it'd be a problem with that, or we could take, if someone has a motion, we can take that as well. Commissioner Proctor, Commissioner Dozier, I see you preparing to say something. Go for it. There, staff recommendation is either or.
Mr. Dilbert is recommended by Joe Dublin.
Mr. Dilbert holds the seat and now wishes to be reappointed. Dr. Young is also vying for a seat as well.
Mr. Dilbert had been recommended, but Commissioner Lindley, I was overhearing you without the mic. If I may have just read it or misremembered it.
I just saw that the school board member, Joy Bowen, had recommended him, but that's just her reference. So we could definitely continue this if you feel uncomfortable with it, if the rest of the board does.
I'll tell you what, I'll entertain a motion to I guess, continue the item to our next board meeting and request resume from Mr. Dilbert.
That would be fair to him, because I wouldn't support him today based on what I see with Dr. Young's resume.
Motion made by Commissioner Proctor. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Lindley. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries without objection. Commissioners, it's 5:15. We can go right into discussion, or we can go to lunch. I'll go to break. Break. Back at 6.
And Mr. Chairman, let me just. The standalone emergency room on North Monroe has requested a continuance. So if anybody was here for that item, there's a request for a continuance.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.